So, bore da pawb, croeso. Good morning, everybody. Welcome. Thank you so much for having me here today. As Lauren said, my name is Natalie Proctor. I'm head of the pharmacy and prescribing branch in the Welsh Government. And I just wanted to thank the team at AWTTC for inviting me along today to chat to you about a topic that I'm personally very passionate about, but also one that forms a large part of my job, as Lauren said, as decarbonisation policy lead across my division. And yeah, what a day we've got here to be talking about the environmental impact of medicines, with temperatures predicted, I believe, to reach the hottest ever recorded in the UK later today. So yeah, well done to the team for organising that. I hope you all staying cool and staying safe as well. Now, I could easily spend the next 15 minutes talking to you about the startling gravity of the climate and ecological crisis. I do, however, recognise that it's quite early in the morning. Some of us are probably loaded on caffeine, but others it might be a bit too early to start processing that type of information. And of course, you know, there is the elephant in the room that we're still 2 years plus into a global pandemic, one that hasn't gone away. I'm sure we're all feeling a bit fragile, and I know we've all got a huge raft of priorities on our plates at the moment. But you've already made a difference to decarbonisation by being here today. So thank you truly for showing your support for this agenda. We know that planetary and population health go hand in hand. So you are some of our key players in advocating for both sides. I hope you'll feel challenged and inspired by the speakers today, and I'll urge you to share what you'll learn with colleagues across Wales. It is important for us to consider the context and the background to why we're here today. So I am going to share some startling facts with you about climate change. I'll move on to acknowledge some of the policy work on decarbonisation and then the role of pharmaceuticals specifically. Okay, so to dive straight in, does anybody know who this young lady is? This is AWTTC Deborah. Ella was a 9-year-old girl who lived in Lewisham, southeast London. She died in 2013. Ella was the first person in the UK to have air pollution listed as the cause of death on her death certificate. At the time of writing this presentation, I checked the air quality of Lewisham compared to Cardiff. They were the same. In fact, some areas in South Wales were worse. Chepstow, Swansea, Port Talbot, they all scored worse in terms of air quality index. So we are in a climate crisis. It isn't a thing that's happening to other people in other countries years in the future. People are dying from this now, and we need to make a change. So some of us will be in positions within our organisations where we can affect these changes at policy level. Does anybody know who this lady is? In April 2019, with cross-party support, the Senedd was the first parliament in the world to declare a climate emergency. And there's now unprecedented political recognition of a global climate emergency. In May 2021, the Welsh Government created a new climate ministry led by this lady, Julie James. And this lady, this is Yasmina Hamdawi. She's a pharmacist in Betsi Cadwaladr, who has been passionately advocating for health action against climate change as a founding member of the Ysbyty Gwynedd Green Group and also the Green Health Wales Network. As clinicians, we're trusted members of society. We've got a responsibility to educate ourselves about the issue, develop our carbon literacy, and share this knowledge with colleagues and also our patients, so we can work with them to make shared decisions, but also sustainable decisions, therefore protecting the health of our planet, but also our population. And even if you haven't been following the Climate Change Ministry, or if you're not yet a member of the Green Health Wales Network, you probably recognise this young lady, Greta Thunberg. Greta has been challenging world leaders to take immediate action on climate change. So it's important for us to remember that we're here as clinicians, but we're also here as people of Wales, people of this planet. Climate change is the single biggest health threat facing humanity, and inaction is not an option. So some more of those startling facts that I promised. If we don't act now to change the current trajectory of climate change, we will run out of fresh drinking water by 2045. By mid-century, as many as 30 to 50% of the total animal and plant species found on Earth will be extinct. The number of floods and heavy rains has quadrupled since 1980 and doubled since 2004. And by 2050, If we don't change, 10% of our hospitals will be underwater. So in 2015, the nations behind the Paris Agreement set an ambitious target for keeping global warming below 1.5 degrees C. Projections are that actually temperatures could rise by up to 5 degrees. And this doesn't mean that we're going to have nicer summers and lovely UK staycations. Extreme weather events have had catastrophic consequences. The World Health Organization have predicted that between 2030 and 2050, we'll see an additional 250,000 deaths per year that will be the result of climate change. This will be through heat waves, storms and floods, disruption of food systems, and increases in zoonosis, food, water, and vector-borne diseases, and mental health issues. And if all of that hasn't scared you enough, these next two slides show the drastic changes in sea level that we'll see by 2050 if current projections aren't altered. So from this map of Cardiff here, you might see that some of you might need to start looking for a new house, somewhere new to live. And despite all those mountains up north, there will be some areas of North Wales that are also under risk. So what are we going to do about all of this? Here's some of the policy. As mentioned, the Paris Agreement was laid in 2015, and this is a legally binding international treaty that commits 193 parties to reduce their emissions and work together to adapt to the impacts of climate change. In Wales, we've got the Environment Act in 2016 and the Wellbeing of Future Generations Act in 2015, which are some of our key legislative drivers. Welsh ministers also have an ambition for Wales to be net zero by 2050, and the public sector specifically to be net zero by 2030. The Wellbeing of Future Generations Act ensures that the climate is considered at an everyday decision-making level. Therefore, NHS Wales has a duty under the Act to work together to achieve a prosperous, resilient, healthier, more equal and globally responsible Wales, a Wales of cohesive communities, vibrant culture, and thriving Welsh language. And as the largest public sector organisation in Wales, the NHS has a critical role to play in the decarbonisation agenda. And in March last year, the NHS Wales Decarbonisation Strategic Delivery Plan was published. Now, we know that the NHS in Wales produces around 1 million tonnes of CO2 equivalent per year and is the largest public sector emitter in Wales. This represents around 2.6% of Wales's total greenhouse gas emissions. And when we look closer at NHS Wales's carbon footprint, we can see that pharmaceuticals accounts for 23% of carbon emissions. That's the largest proportion represented here on this graph, and providing us with a significant opportunity to make a positive contribution. So within the Decarbonisation Strategic Delivery Plan, we've got 46 initiatives. 4 of these have been assigned to the Pharmacy and Prescribing branch in Welsh Government, and I'm overseeing the progress towards achieving these. We've got number 42, to take a patient-centric approach to optimise inhaler use, focusing on a reduction in the over-reliance of reliever inhalers where possible. Number 43, to transition the existing use and distribution of carbon-intensive and high global warming potential inhalers to alternative lower global warming potential inhalers where possible. Number 44, to support the development of guidance for best practice reduction of pharmaceutical waste. And number 46, to engage with pharmacists and prescribers to build upon and support existing efforts to emphasise the importance of responsible inhaler-specific disposal and recycling. And there's some truly fantastic work that's underway that's already made progress towards these initiatives. And AWTTC have got a jam-packed agenda for the remainder of today, which is going to showcase some of this work. I'd like to thank each and every one of the presenters here today for firstly being bold in your pursuit of making a positive impact on this agenda, and secondly for sharing your best practice with us all today. And that's not forgetting the huge number of people who we haven't been able to feature today. I'm sure each and every one of you out there is making a difference in your own way, whether that's carrying reusable water bottles all the way through to entrusting your monthly salary in an ethical bank. So I hope that's been an acceptable level of scare factor balanced with some reassurance of the policies that we've got in place to drive forward the decarbonisation agenda. As I mentioned, there's some fantastic sessions planned today, for you to hear more about the work that's already happening by the clinicians across Wales. I hope you can stay and enjoy as many of those as possible. Lastly, I just wanted to draw your attention again to the Green Health Wales network. They'll be able to signpost you to your local green groups and open a gateway for collaborating with like-minded people on this agenda. Thank you.